Dr. Harry Watson was a man of strong principles and unwavering discipline. He wasn't just any therapist, he was famous for helping people heal their minds and lives, solving problems others found impossible. With his chiseled jawline, striking green eyes, and confident way of carrying himself, Harry naturally caught people's attention, especially women. Yet, he had one unbreakable rule: he never got romantically involved with his female clients. No matter how tempting, this line was never to be crossed. He prided himself in maintaining professionalism. Many of the women he counseled tried to test his boundaries. Some stayed behind after their sessions, dropping hints in their words or looks. Others were more direct, openly expressing their feelings. But Harry was always polite and calm. He would gently steer the conversation back to professionalism without making his clients feel embarrassed or uncomfortable. Outside of work, though, Harry let himself relax. He loved his freedom and enjoyed meeting people, especially women. He had a way with them. With his charm, he could easily turn heads during his nights out. He wasn't searching for love or a long-term relationship, just a fling and a light-hearted connection without strings attached. One Friday night, Harry decided to unwind at Eclipse Lounge, a lively club where he often went to clear his mind. Sitting at the bar with a glass of whiskey, he noticed someone who immediately caught his eye. She had long, wavy black hair that framed her flawless caramel skin, and her smile was so bright it seemed to light up the entire room. The way she carried herself, full of confidence and grace, made it impossible for Harry to look away. He felt an unusual pull toward her, something he couldn't ignore. Summoning his courage, he approached her. "Hi, I'm Harry. May I join you?" he asked with a friendly smile. She looked up, her dark eyes sparkling. "I don't mind," she replied warmly. "I'm Susan." Their conversation flowed as if they had known each other forever. They talked about everything: books, music, travel, and dreams. The connection between them felt natural and effortless. One drink turned into another, and soon, the night led them to Harry's luxurious penthouse. Their time together was filled with passion and energy. Neither of them tried to define it or explain what it meant. But when Harry woke up the next morning, Susan was gone. There was no note or message, just the faint scent of her perfume lingering in the air. After that night, Harry couldn't stop thinking about Susan. Her laughter, her smile, the way she moved, it all stayed in his mind like a song he couldn't forget. He went back to the club the following weekend, hoping to see her again. He went again the weekend after that. But Susan was nowhere to be found. For the first time in his life, Harry felt out of control. This wasn't just a passing attraction, it was a longing so deep that it unsettled him. How could someone he barely knew have such a powerful hold on him? One Monday morning, Harry was preparing for a busy day at his clinic. His secretary knocked on the door and said, "Dr. Watson, your next clients are here. It's a couple." "Send them in," Harry replied, straightening his tie. The door opened, and Harry froze. Standing before him was Susan, holding the hand of a tall, polished-looking man. "Dr. Watson, this is my husband, Daniel," Susan said, her voice steady and composed. Harry quickly masked his shock, extending a hand to greet Daniel. "It's a pleasure to meet you both. Please, have a seat," he said. As they sat down, Harry's mind raced. Susan was married. The woman who had haunted his thoughts for weeks wasn't just unavailable, she was someone else's wife. As the sessions progressed, Harry learned that Daniel and Susan's marriage was troubled. Daniel seemed controlling and dismissive, brushing off Susan's feelings as unimportant. Susan, on the other hand, appeared distant, her eyes often filled with sadness. "Dr. Watson, I feel invisible," Susan confessed during one session. "Daniel is always busy with work. It's like I'm alone even when he's around." Harry listened intently, keeping his emotions in check. But he couldn't deny the unspoken tension between him and Susan, the way her eyes occasionally lingered on his, as if searching for something. One day, Daniel cancelled an appointment at the last minute, leaving Susan to attend alone. Harry hesitated but decided to proceed with the session. "I'm sorry about Daniel," Susan said, sitting across from him. "He had an important meeting." "It's okay," Harry replied, his voice neutral. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then, Susan leaned forward and whispered, "I can't stop thinking about that night, Harry." Harry's heart raced. "Susan, this isn't appropriate," he said firmly. But Susan wasn't deterred. Slowly but surely, her persistence wore down Harry's resolve. Their stolen glances turned into lingering touches, and eventually, they gave in to the passion they could no longer deny. Their secret affair blossomed. Susan would occasionally stay the night at Harry's penthouse, their stolen hours filled with an intoxicating mix of passion and secrecy. Sometimes, they even found moments during their sessions to give in to their desires. Harry's friend Damien, who worked in the same building, began to notice the unusual chemistry between them. One day, he confronted Harry. "Harry, I don't know what's going on between you and Susan, but you're playing with fire," Damien warned. "You're about to lose everything you've worked for. Your reputation, your career, don't throw it all away." That night, Harry tried to heed Damien's advice, but Susan's hold on him was unbreakable. She made him feel alive in a way he hadn't felt in years, and he craved more of her. Susan's arguments with Daniel grew more heated. One night, Daniel accused her of having an affair and threatened to cut her off financially and sue for divorce. Desperate and enraged, Susan snapped. She grabbed a knife from the kitchen and stabbed Daniel in a fit of uncontrollable anger. Blood splattered across the room as Daniel collapsed to the floor, lifeless. Panicking, Susan called Harry with shaking hands. "Harry, you have to come. Daniel hit me, I don't know what to do," she sobbed. Harry rushed to her house, only to find Daniel's lifeless body. "We need to call the police," he said, horrified. "No," Susan cried, grabbing his arm. "I just need to get out of here for a moment. Please, take me away so I can think." Against his better judgment, Harry led her outside to his car. As they reached the car, Susan gasped. "My purse. It's inside, on the table." "I'll get it," Harry said, running back into the house. When he returned, the flashing lights of police cars illuminated the street. Officers surrounded him, and one of them held up Susan's purse, now containing the bloodied knife. "You're under arrest for the murder of Daniel Wellington," the officer said coldly. Harry turned to look for Susan, but she was gone. She had vanished without a trace, leaving him to face the consequences alone. Despite Harry's pleas of innocence, the evidence against him was overwhelming. He was sentenced to life imprisonment for Daniel's murder. The woman he had risked everything for had become his doom. Months later, as Harry sat in his cell, he saw Susan on the news. She was smiling, radiant, as she launched a charity in Daniel's name. She had escaped unscathed, leaving Harry to bear the weight of her crime. In the quiet of his cell, Harry realized that Susan's love had been his greatest mistake and his ultimate downfall.